Hi everybody, welcome back to Sentinels of the Future. It's been a few weeks since I've done a presentation, so it's time to get back into it again. Before I get into another transcript of Danny, I'd like to explain the difference between Sentinels of the Future and the Angel Scrolls. Some of our Angel Scroll followers and visionaries may be wondering why we have some videos under the Angel Scrolls and some under Sentinels of the Future, with two different YouTube channels. I know it's a little confusing, but the Angel Scrolls consists of the history of how this all began and the process of the way it evolved. It started 20 years ago with Victor, the first budgie who demonstrated how he was able to develop full-blown speech. It also consisted of an extensive 5-year indoctrination for me and learning process into the spirituality of God and how he and the angels can communicate through our dreams and visions. In about 2009, Mailer came to me in a miraculous way and began to carry on where Victor left off. Then recently, in 2017, Danny arrived and brought everything together. Sentinels of the Future videos are the updated and evolved versions of recordings that I received from these three budgies. This change also happened when I began to focus more on the quantum reversal technique, which allows me to have a clearer and more detailed connection to God and the angels. With regards to the Angel Scrolls, most of the website contains lessons from dreams and visions that myself and others had. These were interpreted by me through a unique process while in receival with the angels. Visionaries of the Angel Scrolls decided to create a recent update of the newest transcriptions with presentations. Although Sentinels of the Future may sound like something out of a science fiction movie, we are very comfortable that it clearly describes what God and the angels are trying to do here. Not only that, Victor actually said that the angels here are the Sentinels of the Future. So now I just want to recap part of a recording of where Victor talks about Sentinels of the Future. This is from part 2 of Sentinels of the Future presentation, and it's a point phrase quantum reversal. A point phrase quantum reversal is when I take a short phrase in forward mode, translate it, and then copy and reverse that same phrase right after the forward part. Then I translate the reverse part as well.
Why are you bad? You're not bad. Yeah. You're bad. We don't. Victor, it hurts. My derriere hurts. It sounds like he says.
The next video of Danny that I'll be reviewing was originally named Danny's Sermon Part 1. I don't believe I did a full quantum reversal on this one, so I took the time to do one. This is not a point phrase quantum reversal, but a full quantum reversal, which means I translate the entire forward mode recording all at once, then take the same recording and reverse it and translate the reverse next. Who knows why, but in God's quantum world, miraculous things happen, and this is just one of them. So I've had to split up this recording, and I'll be doing two separate presentations on it, because it would be too long if I did them both together. I'll be doing the forward version first. A while back, through Danny and my other budgies, potential Sentinels of the Future visionaries were asked to write down some questions they could ask for the angels to answer. The premises was that I'd receive the answer to these questions and have them ready for you beforehand. I think I may have misunderstood, but I believed that you would ask the question in the forum and I would already have the video waiting for you and post it up when it came. Now that I think about it, that would be extremely difficult to do, and I'd probably easily fail because I'd have to be Superman to do all that alone. Through this video, I came to realize that you do not need to post the question in the forum. The important part is that those who write their questions down will still receive their answer in the forum. The difference being they will only know themselves that their questions are being answered, and it will be up to them to come forward and let us know when they are. Perhaps you have one or two of them answered at a time, or the answers will come when the time is right. Believe me though, I am confident and truly believe that your questions will be answered in a miraculous way. So let's begin. At this point, the only thing I can do is speculate and come up with a question that relates to the answer that Danny has already given. Remember, these videos were recorded over 1 year ago as well. Question 1. A potential Sentinels of the Future visionary has asked, we were told many months ago to write down some questions that the angels would answer. However, it seems that no one did because there have not been any questions in the forum. This seems quite discouraging to me and almost like there is no one following or believes what is happening. Danny's answer. Now Ryan decided to answer your questions. He'll need to relate here so they can tell we are coaching someone in true advance. Want to talk just a little bit? While Linda's on the computer. Here, I'll put it right down here so we can talk if you want there, okay? And I also would like to respond to this. I think I may have answered a few questions this way once before, but again I got off track and tried something different. However, this time I will devote a large part of the next few presentations to answering these questions. Keep in mind, no one has contacted me with these questions, and I do hope that you will begin to believe and participate once your questions are answered. If your questions are answered, the angels are coaching you for a reason and should give you a true understanding of how God and the angel will choose you personally for this incredible journey. Question 2. Potential Sentinels of the Future visionary has commented and asked, why has it taken Ryan so long to get this far? I really want to believe that the angels are communicating through Danny, but I often backtrack and find some reason to change my mind. If this really is true, should myself and others not be convinced by now, as I've been following this for a long time? Before I commit totally to this, I want to be sure and know that this religion is from God and His angels, and something that will help me to better my life in the eyes of God. Can you explain why it is taking so long for me to truly believe, as I often feel quite alone in my beliefs about the angels and what they can do for humanity? Danny's answer through the angels is, now that you have a league of angels teaching you, you'll need some time before you really get it. Our unique support will give you pleasure you get from accepting a dream with a vision. My own comments? When this first started happening to me, the first thing I felt was fear. For some reason, I thought I had discovered something so incredible that there would be an evil force out there trying to prevent me from making it public. Then I went through a stage of making sure that it came from a godly source and trying to understand why I was chosen. When I finally realized that everything I was being taught was of love and goodness, I finally made a commitment to make it my life's goal to follow direction that God and the angels were taking me. Question 3. How is Ryan going to get people to believe this? Because it is so incredible. If I do decide to participate and make a commitment to help, where do I begin? I do not want to be laughed at or criticized for my beliefs, and I'm also worried about my reputation in the field I'm working in. Danny's answer. The media will need to hear his story to believe. You can construct a DVD of all you're hearing now and invite people who need to change their life. You will make some progress if you work on video for building your reputation. My additional comments. I've put out several press releases and paid for them. However, so far I've been told that they won't put one out to the main press sources around the world because they have the right to hold back press releases that they feel may be against mainstream science and the academia. In other words, they can suppress something like this unless it is backed by several different sources. Many potential sentinels of the future and future sentinels of the future hear much of what I translate from the budgies. Some of it is very clear. It can only be transcribed because of the experience we have in the field. I believe I'm the leading authority in budgie speech, and the only way to get recognition would be to have the support from others. There are many people out there on YouTube building their reputations for things that go against mainstream media, and some of these things are starting to have a wide range of acceptance. Current visionaries of Sentinels of the Future. Problem is that we are basically the only ones that are disclosing the evidence of how animals can be highly intelligent and that they can also have a spiritual connection to God and the angels. One of the advantages we do have is that we can provide a significant amount of evidence to back up what we say. All people have to do is be willing to listen and spend some time listening to the recordings, which enables them to make their own decisions. Question 4. I work with a company that focuses on many things that are not widely accepted by mainstream media, but the work we do is different than this, and I'm not sure if they'd want to get involved in what you're doing. If we did decide to work with you, what is the next step? Danny's answer. Your company can be a very good witness for knowing how Danny can be highly intelligent. You will need to verify it and eventually introduce your work to Ryan. When you try, we will meet you right here without fear. More importantly, the video has to be good to help others. This will help eventually for everyone who has an interest. And my additional comments. Yes, we need as many witnesses and verifiers as we can get. Potential sentinels of the future visionaries can bring others by talking about it on Facebook or in forums. Some people may say it's a fake, but that is ridiculous. For one thing, audio is probably easier to verify than video, and even though people may say it's not a real budgie talking, how would they explain the reversals and the amount of content they have? Additionally, I've had many comments from people who have had budgies of their own who have heard Victor or my other budgies speak. As a result, many have said their budgies get extremely excited when they do. Companies or organizations that do similar work will find that much of what we do here will tie in quite well and even back up and provide proof in many areas that relate to paranormal activities, mysticism, higher beings of enlightenment, spiritual evolution, quantum physics, and mostly God and the angels. Question 5. I have a hard time believing that Danny can channel the angels and predict future events. Can you prove to me that he is able to see the future? If your budgies can see the future, then why haven't they predicted and tried to prevent a catastrophe, as they've been apparently working with you for a long time? And if you could predict future events, then how do we know something good will come from it? We constantly hear how having the ability to predict a future event often cause more evil than good, especially if it gets in the wrong hands. How long is it going to be before you start to prove that you can help humanity when it comes to catastrophes, famine, and war? Danny's answer. I will predict a crash coming. Do you think that Danny would get you ready for something like this? It's a prophecy of timing as we await your endeavor. A prophecy approaching God's logic here can always bring something ultimately good. We are closer than we've ever been for God. And my additional comments. I first started hearing the budgies predict things in the early 2000s. For example, Victor predicted the tsunami that killed over 200,000 in Indonesia. When it happened, it frightened me, and I did not want to be part of any prophecies of doom. I asked God why I could not do something about it before it happened. I realized, unless I could get this in the news to thousands of people before it happened, it would be useless. The time will come when we will have many people in this religion that will be able to spread the word and prevent much pain and suffering in the future. Right now, they only tell me of these kind of things to show me and others what is possible. So for now, potential visionary of God's sentinels of the future will be able to witness them predict future events that mostly affect the evolution of this religion. Over the past 10 years especially, there are many prophecies about things that happen after their death, where they provided detailed descriptions of related future events. At one point, Mailer even started answering questions in a forum before the questions were asked, and he responded to people's posts before they even put them up in a forum. Even then, I was bullied out of the forum by what I suspect was a group of people who were brought in to try and discredit me. Regarding Danny, he was a master of giving a description of things that would happen in some of the videos he did. He would talk about something a few seconds or a few minutes before it happened, and that last part was just another example of that. Visionaries of Sentinels of the Futures have no doubt that all three budgies can predict future events, whether they be a few seconds, days, or years in advance. Lastly, Danny mentioned a prophecy of timing. For me, that inherently means that God and the angels did not feel the time was right, or that I was not ready yet as well. I forgot to mention that big crash you heard while Danny was recording. I live in a condo building, and it was late in November in Canada when we had a snowstorm, which caused a lot of ice to form on the building and window ledges. As the day warmed up, some of the ice began to fall. It was the first time it happened that day, and when the chunk of ice fell, it hit our window ledge, and it even scared me. Amazingly, Danny didn't even flinch, because he knew it was coming. As you heard, it crashed so hard his cage even rattled, and you can hear me say, "Oh man," when it happened. Question 6. How do we know that Ryan isn't just someone who can find ways to cheat on the recordings or manipulate people into believing some of these things? There are many cases where Ryan has done translations after the event has happened. So how do we know that he's not just saying or believe he is hearing some of these things as well? We have also seen various versions of the translations, and how do we know which ones are the correct translations? This is Danny's comments. If it's cheating, Ryan would be especially vigilant before he'd really add captions. To bring you, we gave him already these words, and now we think he's ready. Ryan, he needed to evolve in many pieces for me. Thank God Ryan was chosen. And my additional comments. The early translations are left there for a reason. If I was trying to hide something, for example, a correction or change in the translation, I would not leave the old translation up. Leaving them there lets potential visionaries know that there is a process that was taken to help me evolve and improve what I was hearing. For example, whenever science does experiments, they normally document all the previous experiments so they can determine where they went wrong and how they can improve on the next ones. So when Danny said I would be especially vigilant before adding captions, the older versions can often be compared to the new translations so people will be able to hear for themselves if the older version was the same audio file. Finally, each time a new budgie who began communicating through the angels helps to verify much of what has been understood from a previous budgie, who may not have been as cleric saying it when the channel was weak or the frequency was interfered with. Believe me, there are many times when I would redo a translation and get something totally different and question my abilities, only to find out that the timing was not right for that particular recording to be transcribed and the connection was weak or even non-existent. There were even times that I felt like giving up and had long periods of breaks between transcriptions, only to come back to them later. When I did, some became much clearer, and this encouraged me to continue on with what I was doing. Question 7. I'm a Christian and a bit concerned when you say you want to start a new religion. What makes you think that this new religion is going to be better than the one I believe in now, and how will I know it's supported by God? How do I know that God will not condemn me and punish me somehow for believing in something like this and supporting it? Danny's answer. We have wrote the plan of how we do a religion here with our display of miracles as a journey. When you are here, and then he says a name, you can support Danny and remain in the life of God, and your questions can form a good decision because you are daring and lack fear. My additional comments. When the angels say they have wrote a plan, some of which has already been published and some of which is still in the process, they truly mean what they say. In this new religion, you will not just have to have faith that is supported by God, but you will have miracles that will prove it as well. Currently, visionaries of God's sentinels of the future know that God gives us the right to believe in what we choose to believe in, as long as it does not cause pain and suffering on others. We have been told over and over again that God does not expect us to abandon our own belief systems in any religion that we choose to belong to, but He will give us the evidence we need to support those that decide to improve in their belief systems in order to allow God to preserve and protect humanity in the future. One of the main purposes of this religion is not to fear God, but to embrace His love and spirituality. Question 8. What do you expect from potential visionaries of God's sentinels of the future? And can you give us an example of a miracle that we will have? What about the accuracy of the past transcriptions, and should we be concerned when there are corrections? Danny's answer. Once Ryan finishes a transcript, you approach them with care every time. When you listen to us, it is really experiencing a miracle. Transcripts of past issues can explain how many learn to trust the corrections. My additional comments. When it comes to the accuracy of the past transcriptions, it is not hard to see that even though corrections may be made, that the direction and the purpose of the past transcript usually does not change that much. What usually happens is past transcripts are often enhanced by the latest transcription with more important and understandable content. Question 9. This question is to Danny. Are you an angel in a physical body, or are you a body that's been visited by an angel when you speak? Danny's comments. Remaining here in life as a religion angel currently can be dangerous. Least we forget I'm a real budgie. Ryan had a budgie who had full-blown speech, and the angels encouraged him. My additional comments. When we went to the pet store, we were quite amazed to see how Danny was the only fancy budgie in the cage. We also noticed that he had an injury on his chest and hoped that we could nurse him back to health. So from the get-go, we knew he was not healthy and had to take him to the vet a few times, finding out that he had liver damage that could not be corrected. However, even though Danny was sick and dying, he began to talk in less than 2 months in perfect context. It all began one evening at our summer getaway when Linda and Kayla and myself held hands together and prayed for an angel to visit us through Danny. The next day, he began to communicate in this way. Question 10. Are you really connected to God, or is it the angels that are communicating? How is it possible to know what your questions are before we ask them, and how can you be with everyone who is going to be connected to this religion in the future? Danny's answer. At times we hear God and sub for him. We have learned to talk to him. He consecrates the times. That's how we can be with you pretty much everywhere in the world while members compose questions. My additional comments. I struggled with the above question myself for a while, until we learned that the budgies were channeling messages from the angels and God as well. Currently, visionaries of God, sentinels of the future, know that the quantum world is a miraculous place, and even scientists suspect that there is evidence that supports there are many things within it that do not subscribe to what humans know about space and time. In other words, in the spiritual world, God and the angels can transfer space and time, and they have eternity to do it. That means they can choose to be wherever they want at any time. For example, if God wanted to be with you on August 1st, 2019 at 9:05 a.m., he could visit you. Then when he was done, he could choose to visit someone else at that exact time and place. This conforms to the laws of quantum mechanics, where particles and atoms can duplicate and move from one orbit to the other and be in two places at the same time. Question 11. Is it just one angel communicating? And if so, what is your name? How does it work when Ryan does a reversal and we hear him speaking in reverse? It's almost like you are right there with him in real time. If the angels can actually affect the recordings in real time, what else can you and the budgies do? Danny's answer. Some of the angels will be helping with the captions. Yes, we're present every day here, whenever you want. We are always knowing when Ryan's alone or already went to bed. We feel the river. And you won't believe what's achievable from Danny. My additional comments. How they do it is quite incredible. I believe that the angels can see the results of the translations in the future and have the ability to correct them when they want to add something or make things more clear. I also believe that when I go into receival, they know and connect each time I do. It is also important to realize that Danny has to also be ready and capable of receiving what they are saying in real time as well when he records. Question 12. What kind of actions will the future visionary of God's Sentinels of the Future be part of? And how do we know that it will not create pain and suffering for others in the future? Why do some people hear much of what Ryan translates, and why do some claim to hear little or nothing at all? Danny's answer. We want actions that never encourage hate. Following our recordings in here merits love for all mankind. We hope that our philosophies can be offered to help again. If you won't hear, you're avoiding philosophies and must not care about what's happening in your time. My additional comments. We are in a world now where we can find many places, especially on the internet, that encourage hate and violence. Unless something is done spiritually, it will only get worse. Current Sentinels of the Future offer philosophies that encourages humanity to care and take actions that will be better for our future children. God's plan has many good things in store for humanity's spiritual evolution that most people have no understanding of yet. For right now, it seems like we are heading in the wrong direction. This is question 13 and the final question for the forward half of this transcript. Question is, even though there are many problems, I like the world we live in today. When I first began following this, I was excited about how Victor was the first budgie to bridge the communication gap between man and animal. Since then, you started going all spiritual, and it seems like you're ignoring how intelligent the budgies are. Danny's answer. Don't you want the better life that you were dreaming about? Victor showed a better way for Earth. This budgie chose a philosophy, and he had words for many. He really wanted to balance everything in the future for God. It was for the sanctity of life. And he really was hoping to truly try to make things better. Finally, he questions the Earth's fear and oppression. Now it's up to humanity to encourage the Earth with a renewed passion. additional comments. Yes, some of us are content with the way things are now. However, taking a better look at what's happening in the world today shows undeniable instances of corruption at top levels, new laws where countries are only concerned about their own and not others, and recent changes in a culture that does not encourage truth and honesty. When we accept the fact that the truth no longer is important, we then become prisoners of the lies and are oppressed puppets for those who feed us untruths. These lies come from those at high places who will be able to benefit from the deceptions. As a result, the rest of the world becomes angry and confused, and this confusion has a snowball effect which only causes more evil. This completes this presentation. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to join us, you can come to theangelscrolls.com and click onto the forum link at the top, where we will be adding the newest presentations. Bye for now.